Respected Chairman Sir, we have been discussing a matter of urgent public importance related to natural calamities in the country. We have heard a large number of honorable members who have expressed their grave concerns about the recurrent natural calamities in the country. They have also mentioned about the various steps that need to be taken to find an urgent and permanent solutions to the problems of natural calamities. Sir, I feel that just as life and deaths are ultimate truths, in the same way, it is the convention that whenever there are floods, there will be a discussion on the subject in both the houses of parliament. Now, I would like to emphasize and impress upon the government that tackling the natural calamities in the country is as important as accelerating the development of Indian economy and Indian society. If we do not pay adequate attention to the problems created by the natural calamities, then all our developmental efforts would come to a standstill. Therefore, if we are able to control the natural calamities, perhaps we would be able to achieve 2% more of growth rate every year. I am sorry to say that every year the growth rate is being deflated by the natural calamities that are occurring. This is affecting even our agriculture. Therefore, it is all the more necessary that we understand the gravity of the situation and pay equal attention to the aspect of controlling and containing these natural calamities. Sir, today, if we look at the situation, we will find that all parts of our country are affected by the natural disasters in one way or the other. They are not random in character. They come in regular intervals year after year and place after place. If we look at the coastal states, we will find that those states are vulnerable to cyclones. As per the estimate, about 4 crore hectares of area is prone to floods and about 70% of the total area is vulnerable to drought. As a result of the continuous onslaughts of these natural calamities, there is a heavy toll of life and property in the country. Sir, I would like to emphasize here that at the time when the floods occur, the cattle are more affected than the human beings. As far as question of tackling the natural calamities is concerned, I would first feel that with the higher level of scientific capacity that we have in our country, we should be able to evolve an effective warning system. There is a saying that prevention is better than cure. Therefore, we should be able to evolve a system for this. We often boast that India has the third largest reservoir of technical and scientific manpower in the world. What is the scientific manpower doing if it cannot forecast and coming of a flood or coming of a cyclone or coming of a tsunami? If the scientific manpower cannot be used for this, what kind of scientific research are we doing in this country? Therefore, we should be able to get a coordinated, activated, and motivated research effort in this area. For this, there is a need to gear up the concerned department of the Government of India so that the needs of the research efforts in this area are met successfully. That should be done. I would feel that the government should be able to work out what is called a national disaster management network system in the country. This will help us to exchange information with one another in the country. If we look at the recent tsunami that hit the country in recent years, we will notice that even this could not be predicted in time. Therefore, we have to have a good forecasting system to avert any such eventuality in the future. The need of the hour is to have a good preventive system to meet any of the casualties of this type. Secondly, at the time of natural calamity, we should all join hands so that we are able to mitigate the seriousness or the loss caused due to such calamity. For this purpose, we should be able to create a quick action team so that as and when a natural calamity occurs, the central government should be able to rush these forces to the places where it is required. We should also be able to create a separate search team at the national level for carrying out the relief measures. There should be a sound system of relief. We find that the Government of India has evolved the norms for providing assistance for calamities of various categories, but the amount suggested as relief is just inadequate to meet the needs of the people. Therefore, the existing relief norms should be revised. Honorable Speaker, even though the time at my disposal is rather short, I shall endeavour to refer to as many points raised by the members as possible. I am well aware that several honorable members were anxious to participate in the discussion to express their views. But as we had hardly 1 hour, I am sorry to say that many of them should not do so. Before I proceed with my reply to the points raised, I should like to give a bird's eye view about the activities and achievements of the ministry which I have the honor to hold. So far as the situation about the industrial relations in the country is concerned, it has now showed a marked improvement during the current year. The number of strikes, lockouts, layoffs, and loss of man days due to these are very much less than in the previous years. It is therefore a matter of great consolation, and the management as well as the labor force deserve our warmest congratulations and appreciation in this regard. The government is quite alive to the fact that some of the provisions in the Industrial Disputes Act relating to layoff and retrenchment have been causing considerable havoc to the workers. The government as well as the labor leaders are naturally worried about the loopholes in the enactments. So I propose to bring forward a comprehensive bill to amend the Industrial Disputes Act to plug these loopholes and to see that the workers are not unduly put to hardship and trouble because of the ambiguity in respect of some of these provisions. In this connection, I would like to make a fervent appeal to the employees and employers for full cooperation with the government in enforcing the provisions of the relevant enactments meant to create a healthy industrial atmosphere. Each must understand and appreciate the other's problem and try to cooperate with each other. They should take a view so as not to do anything which will reduce the production of essential articles much needed by the people. Increased production is the need of the hour, and this can be achieved only with the wholehearted cooperation of both labor and management. Honorable members are perhaps aware that the government has recently introduced a new scheme of workers' participation in the management. Details of this scheme have been published in the Gazette. We are very keen to see that this new scheme becomes successful. In my view, it can succeed only with the cooperation of both the management and labor. It is my duty to call upon the private sector to contribute its share of cooperation in this regard, as we have not introduced this scheme to them for the time being. It is a voluntary scheme, but we want to encourage the private sector to fall in line with this scheme. To begin with, we have introduced this scheme in the public sector undertakings. We have already addressed the state governments to introduce this scheme in all the public sector undertakings in their respective states. At the same time, we want to see that the private sector should not lag behind but should also adopt this scheme. I was very much pained to hear a member say that we have a policy of confrontation with the workers. Let me here and now deny that allegation with all the vehemence at my command. We do not pursue a policy of such confrontation. On the other hand, we want to protect and safeguard the interests and welfare of the workers. We want to see that under the circumstances, the workers are allowed to be exploited by the unscrupulous employees. As a matter of fact, that is the main job of a labor ministry, and we are doing that job with the full sense of responsibility, efficiency, and zeal. We will never allow the workers' interests to be jeopardized. As regards the construction labor, there are a lot of people who are engaged in construction work like road construction, building construction, and other construction work. Today, they are in a deplorable condition and their work is of a hazardous nature. So we propose to bring forward a bill to ensure their safety and welfare and for helping them by regulating their hours of work, fixing their minimum wages, providing for compensation when they meet with accidents while doing their job, and such other welfare and security measures. I hope and trust that in the next session we will be able to introduce that bill and get it passed with the full support of the members belonging to all sections. A reference was made to Sri Lanka refugees. They are at present living in a different part of Sri Lanka. They need to be provided with shelter.